It's the final waiver wire show of the year. Can you believe it? It's the final waiver wire show of the year, and we are here for you. That's right. It's the Audible, Cecil Lammey, Sigmund Bloom, Dr. Jene Bramel going over, well, who you need to add for your championship, who you can hold on to, who you can go ahead and dump. If you made it, we are here for you. And if you didn't make it, Bloom, we're here for you too.
Yeah, well, in some cases, we are the ones who didn't make it. Did you know Cecil lost in the opening round of the Festival OG? I didn't even make the Festival OG playoffs, so I don't even have that to complain about. I could complain about this and that and the other, but yeah. And again, it's the waiver wire show. Not all waiver wires are open. I'll spin a little yarn here. Not that anyone cares about my team or other teams, but in the Roto World Dynasty League, which I did make the final, and because of Deontay Johnson, it didn't come down to this. There's no trade deadline, and it actually is quite fun. As long as you don't have anybody too volatile in your Dynasty League, it's fun because teams have to push, and there becomes an arms race. And both Ryan Van Bibber, who was my opponent this week, and I made trades. Cease. I got T.Y. Hilton, he got Rob Gronkowski and Emmanuel Sanders. Our trades hurt our lineups. We would have been better off with the players we had that we wanted to replace, like Jacoby Myers and Noah Fant and Devin Singletary. These were the players who hit the bench. Week 15 heroes. So, yeah, sometimes we're our own worst enemy.
And sometimes we just have to start with Dr. Jene Bramel, of course, who talks about the injured quarterbacks to kick things off. Dr. Jene, what are we looking at? This list is going to be fun, Bloom, because it's 50%ers and 1%ers.
Yeah, basically.
And quarterbacks are Marcus Mariota. Hey, there's a message. Mm-hmm. And Matt Ryan, 50+% for both of those guys.
Yeah, and I mean, the idea here is like either there's someone you could pick up that you might even want to start, and there's someone you could pick up that if you have to, you could start them. Marcus Mariota. See, what can we say about this? He looked like the career near-death experience. I haven't used that phrase for a while on this show. He looks like somebody who got it because of the career near-death experience. Dare I say he looked as focused and both playing within himself and at the limits of his abilities that we've really seen. He looked like a player who understood that this opportunity may not come along again in his career. And I think it should be his job at this point. I think it's his job to lose. I don't expect we're going to see Derek Carr. It is a tough matchup against Miami, or at least it's not an easy matchup. But we saw Mariota dangerous as a runner and decisive and very accurate and decisive as a passer. Wow. This was the quarterback that we had hoped maybe he would become in the NFL, and at least for a season, it looked like he was on his way to becoming that guy. So it'll be really interesting. We get to watch him on Saturday night in the Hawaiian Punch Bowl. Every single television in Hawaii, I think it was Mina Kimes who said every single television in Hawaii is going to be tuned to this game. Hawaii has, and see, there's no Pro Bowl this year, and didn't they move the Pro Bowl anyway?
Yeah, it's in Orlando.
There's great football culture in Hawaii. Great football culture in Hawaii. And I think it's something to just pause and appreciate that we're going to have a quarterback battle between two Hawaiian-born quarterbacks coming from that very proud tradition. And I'll look forward to that. And just maybe, like if your other quarterback was Ben Roethlisberger, yeah, I'm going to start betting Marcus Mariota over Ben right now. There's some scenarios where I could see Marcus Mariota in some week 16 lineups, especially in two quarterback superflex leagues, break the bank for him. And then Ryan, sorry.
Oh, yeah, Matt Ryan.
That's because it's Matt Ryan,
yeah,
Mr. Vanilla. That's not. Well, he recovered. He played well against Tampa for most of the game, and he gets Kansas City. He's going to air it out. And Julio Jones could be back this week, PRP injection. So that's something to look for. Matt Ryan, at least a consideration this week.
Yeah, and I was going to say with Ben, isn't it funny how when he still could play, he was like, I'm thinking about retiring.
Yeah.
And then now that he's done, he's like, I'm coming back.
Yeah. Like, it was quite a thing. See, so watching that game last night. Oh, boy. Let's just talk about the game last night. Right?
That was terrible.
Well, it was terrible, but there was a point in the first half when Ben was like 5 for 13 for -2 or something with an interception and a fumble. And he was staring at that spot about like 2 feet in front of your face. You know what I'm talking about. And it really shows, I have to say, it's just incredible storytelling, really, because it isn't often, and with football, players want to play until they can't play anymore, until the game says you can't play anymore. We do see some players go out gracefully, or players that are great for the Lions, say, okay, I could still play, but I'm done. I'm good. But usually, well, because you think about it, for most of these players, since they were 7, 8 years old, their life has been about football. So how can they imagine their life without football, without playing football? So in some ways, your retirement, or when you can't play anymore, is kind of like death. It's a metaphor for death. And we're watching Ben Roethlisberger basically contemplate his own death when you're watching him on the bench, and he's understanding that he just doesn't have it anymore. So I think when you say that now he's like, well, I want to keep playing because it's close. The light is getting brighter at the end of the tunnel, and the end of the tunnel probably a playoff loss for the Steelers. We were too optimistic when we said they were going to win a game this year.
All right, let's move on and go to the one percenters then, and that's CJ Beathard, Ryan Finley. Is it really going to be Dwayne Haskins? Or what's going to happen there? Alex Smith, Jarrett Stidham. I don't pay attention to Twitter, Bloom, but when I opened up the app this morning, it was like Haskins apologizing.
Uh-oh.
And I was like, what did he apologize for? Oh, that.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Sandy. All right, Dwayne, partying with no mask and strippers. All right. Okay. Taylor Heineke. No.
Smith. Steven Montez.
Yeah, Jarrett Stidham, they're one percenter. Let's talk about these guys.
Yeah. See, how much in the Haskins story do you think that his dad having so much influence over his career is part of how it's gone by?
Oh, there comes the Sigmund part out, right? Yeah, I'm sure there's quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that we saw from the beginning. Remember when Haskins' dad lashed out at media or somebody? I don't remember. You know what I'm talking about, Cease? Whenever Haskins' dad was like, "This is unfair how he's being treated," and talked about.
Yeah, it's the Connor Cook thing. It's the Todd Marinovich thing. Like, hey, parents, step back.
Back off.
It's
back
fine.
Off. Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see if there's even a second act in Haskins' career at this point. Two quarterback superflex leagues. I thought we might see CJ Beathard this week anyway. It's Shanahan's play calls. I mean, it might still be against Arizona. Finley, athleticism. Hey, Ryan Finley, for the rest of his life, will have beating the Pittsburgh Steelers on Monday night. So good on you. And he played well. He played about some throws he missed, but at least, again, in a two quarterback superflex league, he gets Houston. So that's something to ponder. Haskins or Smith, it's Carolina. So, and Washington's still playing to host a playoff game. I think we're going to probably see Alex Smith. And if not, I don't know if we're going to see Dwayne Haskins. Like I said, is it Steven Montez who's the third quarterback right now? He's athletic. Maybe a lot of people are going to get to learn about Steven Montez. I don't know. And then Jarrett Stidham. He looked
better than Jalen Hurts at the Senior Bowl.
Right. And he's hyper athletic. And then we get to Stiddy. And it's just a question of Belichick. And man, when you listen to Bill Belichick in the post-game presser, and he was like, we didn't tackle well, we didn't play well, I didn't coach well, we didn't, for Bill Belichick, it sounded like he was on the verge of tears. It sounded like, there's a real heaviness there to this, because it was all, and I've joked about the Death Star and all that, but missing the playoffs and being at this place for Belichick, you could feel that weight. Does that encourage him to play Jarrett Stidham, see what they have in him or where he's at? And also, Buffalo, I guess it's going to be really interesting to see how much these teams want to jockey for the number 2 seed over the number 3 seed, or number 3 seed over the number 4 seed, because number 2 versus number 3 is the question of whether you're going to host a game at home, which isn't as important as it was, but still, Buffalo's got that cold weather quarterback, so they need that win. And New England is first time that Buffalo played New England this year. Josh Allen didn't just barnstorm through that game, so we'll see if Jarrett Stidham is the quarterback on the other side of that one.
You mentioned the Death Star. I'll mention Death in the Family. That is Batman 251, the big poster behind me. I'll quote from Batman 429. I sense a great deal of finality in all this. With the Patriots. So
And Cam Newton.
yes, let's go on to Dr. Jene Bramel to talk about injured running backs. I almost said RBs and running backs at the same time. Running backs. I haven't finished my coffee. Anyway, and some important running back injuries of note. Dr. Jene, take it away. It's a fun show, Bloom, because it's 50% or it's 1%.
Right.
50% is a lot on this running back list. So everybody buckle up. And let's I'll highlight the old guys. You can talk about everybody.
Yeah.
But I'll highlight the old guys because Le'Veon Bell and Leonard Fournette, those are two situations that have changed. Your Dr. Jene talked about the Ronald Jones situation. Le'Veon Bell there with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Jene talked about that as well. So Le'Veon Bell, Leonard Fournette, these now become 50-plus percenters that you're considering starting in your fantasy championships, including a host of other backs, Bloom, including the newly crowned lead back, Ito Smith.
Yeah, lots of choices here. It's going to test your mettle at lineup setting with these running backs if you haven't had a settled running back two, or if you're settled running back two with someone like Cam Akers, for instance, at least settled for the last week or two. Let's run down these names. Salvin Ahmed. Hey, if Myles Gaskin doesn't play this week, I mean, look, even if Myles Gaskin does play, see, if someone said, I have to play one of these two guys, Ahmed or Gaskin, who, by the way, were teammates back at Washington. Isn't that interesting how we've had that happen with DJ Dallas and Travis Homer? Now, you can't just rely on who was ahead in college. Ahmed looked good last week, and it's a game against the Raiders. So what we hope for is, I mean, I don't want to say I hope for Gaskin to not play, but that gives us clarity. And if that's the case, Ahmed's going to be tough to leave on the bench. Could have had 2 touchdowns last week. Le'Veon Bell. See, this is stuff. We can spend a little time on this, and we'll talk about this in the preview show too. Bell can be a finisher. I mean, we haven't had that 3-touchdown game or 2-touchdown with 100 total yard game for a Kansas City back yet this year. Is this it? Is this what it was all leading towards? We'll see some Darrell Williams. Bell's looked fine. I mean, he hasn't looked like prime Bell, but we know that this offense is going to be productive, even though Atlanta hasn't given up big games to running backs this year. Giovanni Bernard, and boy, this burns if you started Bernard and his benching cost you in week 14, and then you see him in week 15, he's the engine of the offense. Watching Bernard against the Steelers last night, Cease, I kind of felt like we never got to see what Bernard could do if he was not even showcased, but just given a role befitting his talents, because he's been behind Joe Mixon or Jeremy Hill or Cedric Benson or whoever. He's going to be the lead back against Houston. But we got drawn in by that Dallas matchup 2 weeks ago, and we saw what happened. Chase Edmonds, see, this might be the best one on the whole list if Kenyon Drake is out. Now, Kenyon Drake did get back on the field, but so did Cam Akers. So let's watch this, because an unobstructed Chase Edmonds against San Francisco, we saw Tony Pollard, who's a somewhat similar back in terms of strengths as Edmonds, have a massive game against San Francisco last week. Speaking of Pollard, there's Pollard. We'll see if Ezekiel Elliott's back. If Elliott's not back, Pollard against Philadelphia, a strong running back too. Leonard Fournette, it's going to hinge on Ronald Jones, but if Ronald Jones isn't back, oh my, best matchup against Detroit. Lots of intrigue at running back on the waiver wire in week 16, including Darrell Henderson. And see, this might be the puzzle of all the puzzles of week 16, right? Because Henderson's got fresh legs. We know he can break long plays. We know that the Rams offense, after what happened last week, don't you think Sean McVay's reaction is going to be go back to the 2 tight end set? The offense only came out of the slumber against the Jets in the 2 tight end sets, and which is a better run set for the Rams, which could set up Darrell Henderson. So it's going to be tough. Akers with that high ankle sprain. Darrell Henderson. Could it all be leading to Darrell Henderson being a hero? Ito Smith, given that lead back gold star, and what you like about him is that he's also a very good receiving back. So if they fall behind Kansas City, then we may see Ito still, especially in PPR leagues. Ito will eat. Jeff Wilson. Let's see. Jeff Wilson also was hurt and came back in the game. So we always got to remember this. Just because a player comes back in the game, hey, Joe Mixon came back in the game. We haven't seen him since, you know. And I'm not going to say play Tevin Coleman or Jerick McKinnon or whoever. We're not going to see Raheem Mostert. If it is Jeff Wilson getting a full practice and is the lead back against Arizona, that's not bad. And lastly, we get to Benny Snell. And I wanted to leave Benny Snell for last season because I will say this, because I've never been a big Benny Snell fan. I didn't like it when they
wanted Darrell Henderson.
Right. And I didn't want him in the fourth round, especially. He was the best player on the field for the Steelers last night. He was the only player in that offense that was playing with the Steelers' edge. Well, I mean, I didn't evaluate the offensive line closely. I personally don't care if James Conner is healthy enough to play in Week 16. I think Benny Snell should get the start because he's bringing energy and he's bringing that confrontational, combative energy that the Steelers as a team are just lacking. I really think, actually, believe it or not, that Robert Spillane was much more important to this team, not just tactically because he was in for Devin Bush and a very credible backup that was able to keep the defense, but it's that energy. It's that way of playing. Like we can say rest in peace Kevin Green right now, quiver and quake. The Steelers way, or why players talk about, Steelers organization, it's different. It feels different than other organizations. It's because you truly leave it all out there. And Benny Snell at least did that. So we'll see about James Conner. If James Conner can't go, Benny Snell, I would almost think the Steelers regroup and play a low-scoring game and feed Benny Snell because he's obviously got a full gas tank and he's ready to give it for the Steelers and our fantasy teams.
That's Mike Tomlin and rational coaching.
Yeah.
Good luck. I like what Robert says here. I don't have any free agent bucks left. I just like hanging out with you guys.
We like hanging out with you, Robert.
You like hanging out here as well. So let's hang out with Dr. Jene Bramel and his discussion about injured wide receivers here in Week 16 for the championship round. Dr. Jene, what are we looking at? Okay, Sigmund again, 50+% or 1%, and a smaller list, but Jameson Crowder, Jacoby Myers, those are both 50+%ers for you.
Yeah, and by the way, Malcolm Brown, Frank Gore, Dare Ogunbowale, if we don't see James Robinson, your 1% desperation plays at running back. And I didn't get a chance to call out Gore, by the way. Wasn't it perfect that Gore got the last first down, that it was Gore who finished that win against the Rams? Like Gore saying he didn't want to go out on a winless team. You're not winless if you're still playing, and you might be contemplating a couple of wide receivers. Jameson Crowder, the 6 for 66 line last week. He's healthy-ish. It's Cleveland. So Sam Darnold's playing better. I could see the slot matchup. I could see Crowder having a pretty good game. Remember, Crowder started off the season on a streak of like 7 for 100, sometimes with the touchdown games. He's getting healthier. He's turning up. And then Jacoby Myers. And dare I say, Cease, if you're contemplating Myers, I should have played him over T.Y. Hilton last week. Is it better if Stidham's playing? I mean, just because they're going to run a pass offense. Yeah. You're not going to, and you want to evaluate him as a passer. It is Buffalo. I don't think that Tre'Davious White is going to travel with Jacoby Myers, even though he's the best receiver. I mean, Tre'Davious White can just have like an easy, see, it's kind of like when Denver's on bye for you. You're like, this is going to be a pretty easy week. Oh, I got to cover N'Keal Harry. That's good. I'll be able to wave to the few people in the stands that I know and things like that. So Jacoby Myers is real interesting because when he's good, it's 100+ yards good. It's getting open. It's racking up a lot of yards. And I would expect New England's playing from behind against Buffalo. And I think Myers is a Monday night player. So I don't know if you're superstitious, but if you like it didn't work out that great if you were waiting on Steelers on this Monday night. But if you like waiting on that Monday night player to put you over the top, the mail-in votes of fantasy football, Monday Night Football. So Jacoby Myers, certainly someone to think about. I benched him last week. I might have to play him this week.
All right, let's talk about the 1%ers, including Jalen Guyton, Tyron Johnson, Darnell Mooney, and Zach Pascal. He's back. Probably been dumped. But again, he's got a little tiny window now. 1 week. There you go.
Right, that's right. 1 week for all the marbles. And I guess I should say, too, I won't be doing the waiver wire up down week 17. I haven't ever done it. We won't be doing a waiver wire show for week 17. And hit me up on Twitter if you have questions about waiver wire moves for week 17. If you do have a week 17 Super Bowl, or if you have one of those things where like there's a week 17 contest and the high score, you win something, a draft pick or whatever. But week 17 Super Bowls are absurd because you're putting your league outcome on the most random week
and doubling them up too, because a lot of people will be like, well, the championship is 2 weeks.
Yeah,
like you're only randomizing things even more. Like, okay,
yeah, it's a random week. It's the most difficult week to prognosticate. We will have a lot of our typical coverage for week 17. Jalen Guyton and Tyron Johnson. Let's just see about Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. Whew, that was a rough start to the week if you played Keenan Allen. Chase Stewart played Keenan Allen and still beat me in the Football Guys Dynasty League. I still lost. There's my complaint. It was Robbie Anderson and the Steelers defense and Russell Wilson. A lot of goats, not a good goat, a bad goat. So, Justin Herbert against Denver. You have to think there's some deep balls that are going to connect there. Darnell Mooney hasn't got that deep ball yet. Did get a touchdown, showed that speed. Facing Jacksonville. Darnell Mooney could come through. Zach Pascal with the 2 touchdowns last week. So solid. Like seeing what he can do. It's the Steelers. Ryan Finley was not hanging in and making those completions. Phillip Rivers will. Phillip Rivers absolutely will. So, T.Y. Hilton or Zach Pascal. You have to like the Colts game right now as the Steelers defense not so fearsome. The aluminum curtain.
Yeah, exactly. Get Paid says no love for Chenault. We got a lot of love for Visca.
Yeah,
just when they get
Jacksonville.
When they get Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Trevor Lawrence to Visca.
Mm-hmm. I think he'll know what to do with that guy. All right. Dr. Jene Bramel knows what to do when it comes to talking about fantasy football and, of course, the injuries for the tight end position. Here in week 16, Dr. Jene, you are up. Okay, Bloom, let's get back to the tight ends, and let's talk about 50+% for Austin Hooper. He was out there doing good things. Baker playing with confidence. That comes through with Hooper. And George Kittle, 50+%er. If he's out there, big one. If you can get him. And
I didn't put Noah Fant as 50+%, but if he's out there. What happened last week, Cease, with Noah Fant? Like how they finally are like, hey, he's one of the best players in our offense.
I talked to Noah yesterday, and it comes down to he'd like some more seam routes, but definitely is getting more notice. So he didn't say a whole lot. There's some players speaking there. Probably a different show. I could tell you more, but yeah, I mean, he's not. First off, Tim Patrick was taken away from Drew Lock, so his binky was gone. So then he doesn't throw to Jerry Jeudy. He doesn't throw to KJ Hamler. And so that left Fant. So there you go.
Yeah. So maybe more of the same against the Chargers this week. Austin Hooper had his best fantasy day of the year in week 15. He let Baker make 32 times and led most of the way. And he scored. And it's the Jets this week. What's going to make you feel good? Starting players in week 16 against the Jets. Although, again, you might say, well, I started Cam Akers. I started Jared Goff. I started Cooper Kupp against the Jets last week, and I went home. That's fair. But, the Jets got their win. Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns division winner? Week 17 for all the marbles. And then George Kittle. I think with Kittle, we may see him, we may not see him. And Dr. Jene saying he may play 15 snaps, but it's all high leverage situations. That's the thing. If Kittle is only healthy enough to play 10 or 15 snaps, but they're red zone snaps, they're snaps where he's getting targets, that's enough. And so he's kind of, skipping ahead to shut him down and hold on. There's just something heartwarming about, it's Willis Reed coming off the bench for your fantasy team, depending on what tight end you have. George Kittle could be that guy.
1%ers include Jordan Akins, Hayden Hurst, and Dawson Knox. It's there if they want to keep using it. And also just watch the injury report this week for Stephon Diggs and that little bit of an ankle thing. Probably not a big deal, but hey, if he's down a target or if they choose to give Diggs some rest, then that could be more for Dawson Knox.
Yes. Dawson Knox has had trouble staying healthy, same as at Ole Miss, but very athletic, starting to catch touchdowns. And it's hitching your wagon to Josh Allen. that feels good, even against New England. Hayden Hurst caught a touchdown. It's Kansas City, so you could see Atlanta have to throw more. Not sure that trade worked out. See, second round pick for Hayden Hurst. To think Baltimore won that trade, probably. Yeah. DaCosta does it again. And then Jordan Akins. Whew, Jordan Akins really is like spinning that roulette wheel. But he did catch 5 out of his 6 targets. It is Houston against Cincinnati. Again, watching Cincinnati last night, you're like, whoa, this is a tough defense. No, it's just the Steelers coming out flaccid. I don't think that Houston will. It's risky to go with Jordan Akins, but you have big play upside, and you're hitching a wagon to Deshaun Watson.
Look at Drunk Nichols looking to go back-to-back in his 27-year keeper league. That's a long time, man. That's a long time. My league that I first started in 1993 folded after 25 years.
Colorado Pigskin League?
Colorado Pigskin League, yep.
How many titles did you win?
Oh, not that many. Maybe like 3 or 4.
Who won the most?
Oh, Big E.
Oh!
Big E won like 9, I think.
And he's a Buffalo fan, right?
Yeah, he's
so this is
fan.
a year. This is a year for him.
Yep.
For all the Buffalo fans.
Yep. He's feeling it. He's feeling it. That's for sure. Bills fans are feeling it, and you're feeling it because listen, I get to this point, Bloom, and then it's like, oh man, because like I've said before, like I'll be listening to music, and then that song will come on, and I'll be like, I won't be able to do this for a while. So it's the last one. I was at the grocery store the other day. I gotta go pick up my honey baked ham today too, Bloom.
That's a good one.
Anyway, so there's this nice old lady, and we just happened to strike up a conversation because it was, like about how, I don't know, somebody cut her off in the aisle or something, and she's like, well, that's rude. And I was like, it's kind of 2020, right? And she's like, I just wanted to, get to 2021. So yeah, okay. There's this next segment can be cathartic for everything, not just fantasy football. It can be cathartic in your life. As I choke up on my coffee, by the way. Don't put too much creamer in your coffee. I was like, it tastes like milk. Anyway, we ain't got no milk. So as you all sit there in wonderment, when is it going to start? When are we going to say it? What are we going to do? You know what the next segment is, and you know how much it means, and you know that this is the last time we'll be able to do it until next September. So everyone, take a deep breath and join in with me and Bloom and you and me when we say, cue the Chuck D! Bloom, week 16, shut up now.
Tamales? See, you got some tamales, Christmas tamales?
Yeah.
Yeah. It takes a long time. We've been thinking about making them. It takes a long time to make good tamales, So we got them out from Tacos para la Vida. That's our main course. Gotta love it. Honey baked ham is really good though, Brandon. So shutting them down. And see, this is where we're really getting to like ceremonial shutting them down. It's kind of like I want to do something for New Year's Eve. This is going to be one of the most cathartic New Year's Eves ever, right? Like I really want to make like a big pile of paper mache poop on fire in the street or something like that, Write 2020 on it, something. Because that's really what New Year's is about, right? Out with the old and with the new. And that's what Shut Them Down is about, out with the old. So it's kind of ceremonial. I think Derek Carr, I got a lot of messages from people during the game on Thursday. It was like, I finally started Derek Carr, and this is what happens. Maybe Derek Carr is the next quarterback for the Steelers. I don't know. Derek Carr, adding to intrigue maybe to the 2021 offseason quarterback carousel. I think James Conner to shut him down. I don't want to play him, even if he's active. And then we start to creep into like sabotage drops. Marcus Valdez-Scantling, I think that's going to be cathartic for folks to drop him. I mean, if they didn't play him last week and didn't suffer from a 0, like truly the most unreliable fantasy player this year, but did enough to pull you back in. The most interesting one, Cease. Again, we talked about this on the recap show. Only Colt McCoy was worse than Russell Wilson in fantasy last week. If you survived him in your lineup, or if you were smart enough to play somebody else, Russell Wilson gets the Rams this week. Didn't do much against them. It's tough defense, although don't tell that to the Jets. If you have clarity that you're not going to play Russell Wilson, do you drop him? Do you tempt your opponent, Paul Charchian's sabotage drop, into picking him up and playing him? Because I think if you ate his cooking last week, you got food poisoning.
You got sick.
Yeah.
Or do you instead hold on?
Yeah.
Because there's some guys that you just want to win a fantasy championship with, even if you're not starting them. Diego brings it up about the sentimental ad. Yeah, I'll sentimental ad retired guys if I'm able to, just because I want them to get across the finish line with me. It means nothing. They'll never know about it unless I'm that creepy fan. I'm starting in my fantasy league.
Don't do it.
So there is that hold on element where, all right, R-Dub, you haven't done much for me. You haven't been unlimited, but I'm going to keep you. We're going to win the ring, and we'll ride off into the sunset together. So who are those week 16 hold-ons?
Yeah, and I like the sentimental ad, right? I mean, is there any true hold-ons from a strategic standpoint? No. Here's a hold-on. Even if he's not going to play, you got to hold on to James Robinson. He's got to be there, right? Mm-hmm. He's got to be there.
Yep.
Right. Joe Burrow. I could see picking Joe Burrow back up, even though he's on the sideline on crutches, for your fantasy team, because of how much he laid out there for us. Frank freaking Gore. And again, if you're a Jags fan, go get a Frank Gore Jets jersey. Get your Trevor Lawrence jersey. Hey, I don't want to bloom it. I bloomed it. Too late, I guess. Sorry, Eric Stoner and everybody else out there. Oh, you should have seen the text messages I got from Eric Stoner on Sunday. That was fun. And there's a lot of other great Jags fans out there. Larry Fitzgerald was mentioned in the chat room. That's a good one.
Excellent one. Yeah.
My personal favorite, Ryan Fitzpatrick. I mean, maybe we get another year somehow. Maybe Ryan Fitzpatrick is the Steelers quarterback next year. So I would sign up for that. I would definitely sign up for that. Jason Witten, not my personal pick, Cease, not the first guy I think of, but I can imagine for some out there, Jason Witten is someone they would want to have a sentimental ride with this year. And it's not that crazy. Hey, the Broncos had a sentimental ride with Peyton Manning that ended up with the Super Bowl trophy. So it's not crazy. Do your things, cast your spells, and it all works.
Yeah, I'm going to add Drew Lock just because it's the only ring he'll ever get. So
except the ring around his toilet bowl.
Very true. Very, very true. And there we have it. Wow, that's only 32 minutes. I'll throw in the Dr. Gene stuff. It'll be a little bit longer. But, what else do you want to talk about, Blue?
Oh, man. I don't know. I was just really fascinated because I was watching the game last night with Kate. And she saw that she's really fascinated. See, it's really interesting to watch a ton of football with somebody who isn't used to, we just gorge on it all year, It's like we treat football like, what's his name? Joey Chestnut? Is that his name? The hot dog eating guy?
Sure.
Right? And it's like, another one. Eat another one, on seriously, that's how it's going to be the day after Christmas. 3 games, another one. It's Sunday. Let's wake up, another one. I'm gonna eat another one and another one, and we're just used to it. It's our job, right? That's what we tell everybody so that we get to get away with it. Mm-hmm. But one of the really interesting things from a director point of view of sports programming is really and truly they will show. It's the classic thing where someone throws a pick and then a couple plays later, the other team scores a touchdown, and they show the quarterback. Pain. I mean, we're highlighting pain. We're highlighting genuine, deep pain in these moments. And it's one of the things that makes football so cathartic to watch. But it's unbelievably emotional. I guess I'm taking back to Raheem Mostert, who went on a rant on Twitter this week about, don't at me. Don't blame me. This is my real life. Do you think we want to get hurt? Do you think we want to miss games? No. This is our life. I'm a real person. Stop it. And see, so I don't want to be too forward, but since this is the part that's just for YouTube, if you're one of those people that ats players who let down your team, fantasy team, then this isn't the show for you. This my analysis. Come on. It is real. And, that's things that was on my mind, other than us neurotic super Steelers fans. So that was like a Freudian slip in the opposite direction because they're not going to be a super team. But we're neurotic for a reason. And when Washington lost and goes back after Washington beat the Steelers, when the Steelers lost to Washington, I said, you know how we're feeling. This team will maybe beat Cincinnati, and that's it. And they didn't even do that because we know our team. And it's like the horse that sets the pace and then comes around the stretch run and has nothing left. This team has nothing left. And that's why I was already emotionally becoming a Bills fan in the last week or two. I did admit it. Sorry, Steelers Nation, if that gets me ostracized. But it was quite a gripping game to watch. And it was a much, much better game in terms of entertainment than if the Steelers had just mopped the floor with the Bengals.
I'm always talking about new blood on the couch, Bloom.
Yeah.
Adam says, put Kate on the couch.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that would, hey. I'd have to, she had to be in a different room with that. Maybe on the couch. Literally.
Yeah.
Then we'd all then we start making goo eyes at each other and be like, oh, hey, boo, I love you, boo. And everyone would be like, this is bull. Just turn this off. If I could watch I could have watched Love Actually. I didn't want to,
Right. Be careful what you capture on camera.
What do you what's on your mind? What's on your mind, Cecil? What's on your mind?
Oh God,
you don't want to share it.
You don't want to know. Hot Broncos talk, everybody. It's so awesome. Yay, Broncos fans.
We need to get one of those recipes out of your brain pan there.
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
I was telling Kate about your mom's wisdom to your sisters, and that's what made her say, I bet Cecil has some great recipes from his mom.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the next show, the cooking show.
The cooking show. We got to throw that one on there too. Yeah. Let's see. What can I actually say that's on my mind?
Christmas. Give me a Christmas memory. First thing that pops into your head. Christmas on the Quarter Horse Ranch.
Christmas on the Quarter Horse Ranch. And I'll bring up this because I remember doing Wesley Woodyard's charity. I did a show from his charity for to get toys. I think it was part of Toys for Tots or something like that for the kids here in Denver. And so I was interviewing all the players, and Chris Harris Jr. Hey, what was your favorite Christmas present? I remember when I got the PlayStation 2 and all that kind of stuff. And I got to Nate Irving, and I did the standard tell me what your favorite Christmas present was, and he's like, we didn't ever have any, but we were always together, and that's what mattered the most. So I can remember Christmas presents like a BMX bike, Bloom. That was a big deal. It was after I learned to ride a dirt bike because I rode a motorcycle before I rode a bicycle, because the hell do you need a bicycle for out in the country? I remember, getting a bottle of shampoo for Christmas one year. My upbringing was very weird because when I was really young, we had some money, when the cattle price was good. And then when I got older and when I was in high school, we were broke, bounce checks when you used to be able to do that, all the time. I remember going to the grocery store and having to put stuff back on the shelves, and kind of that shame of oh, they're not going to take your check, or they're not going to take it for a certain amount, whatever. So I remember Christmases that were super exciting. I remember Christmases that were I got a bottle of shampoo. It was a Superman bottle of shampoo, but it was a bottle of shampoo. And so I try to impart to my children, it's about the togetherness. It's just about being there together. Kind of like how Nate Irvin said, we didn't have anything, but we had each other. And that's what mattered the most. It's one of the reasons why I love football so much, because we didn't have family vacation, right? We didn't go to the Bahamas or whatever. We went on the rodeo trail. I went to Gordon, Nebraska, right? So I went to Rapid City, South Dakota. I went to Shine Frontier Days every year for the first 20 years of my life. But it was football that we'd stop. Even my grandparents, everybody would stop working on the ranch. We'd go watch the Broncos, and then we'd go back to work. That's the family memory that I have. So, this time of year, just excited to have everybody home. excited to, hopefully pick up my son tomorrow from the airport. I'm still, whenever you're in the armed forces, you're just like, you don't know. So yeah, that's probably the most important thing on my mind, Bloom. And then a bunch of annoying little things. So
here's the pitch.
Big things like the Broncos.
Yeah, well, you're right. I mean, and you're right. And it's funny because I feel emotionally, morally conflicted sometimes, giving so much of my professional life to glorifying football, whenever football is very questionable in the big picture morally, professional football and what it represents. But you're right that for a lot of people, and this comes back to Thanksgiving too, it represents family. It represents time spent with family. I think that's a good thing. Here's the pitch, and I'm serious. I'm always serious. You mentioned it's perfect, the trail, because you're so refined and honed now, but you are of the rodeo trail. You should do the short form video where you go and retrace the rodeo trail and go see who's still there, because there's still a lot of wonderful people who are still there, even though it's kind of another time encased in amber, and highlight these places, the history, the people, and how the rodeo probably, I'm sure still to this day, is a glue, like a cohesive force that gives the town like purpose and interaction, and kind of like how for Mardi Gras here, like everybody summons up everything they have, and it culminates in Fat Tuesday. It's the same thing with the rodeo scene. I remember doing some of the rodeo scene in New Mexico with my sister. I think my sister was riding and stuff. I was like 3, so it's foggy, but I remember going to the rodeo, and it's a big deal. And in so much as like that part of the plains is kind of austere, like kind of the opposite of Mardi Gras, in so much as there is like a celebration and a festive time. It's incredibly festive. It's a wonderful thing. So yeah, you could make a full circle all the way back to the roots. Cecil Lammey takes you on the rodeo trail.
Yeah, and what's funny about the rodeo trail is if you lost, you went home.
Yeah.
So like we would venture out not knowing, like, are we going to be gone 3 weeks? Are we going to be gone 2 months? Yeah. Are we going to be gone a week? So it was very odd. Very, very odd. I remember breaking down. I wanted to see South Dakota. It was actually at Gordon, Nebraska, because it's close to the border. So we drove up to South Dakota, and then our truck broke down. And we had to get a ride back. I think we were illegally towed back into Nebraska, and I was sitting in the car that was being towed. Mm-hmm. Like, you think about all the stuff we did, because we're old enough to remember, like, child seats. I used to stand next to Dad.
Yeah, exactly.
You're right. You could stand like next to your dad while he drove. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's
yeah, I remember sitting in my stepdad's lap on the way to the dump in the front seat, like, like,
did you get to drive the steering
wheel?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. No, like, there's no way.
No.
There's no way. Anyway, so good trip down memory lane.
Yeah.
Hope everyone has a great, happy holiday season. That's a happy Hanukkah. That's a happy Kwanzaa. That's a Merry Christmas. That's all. You're doing some sort of pagan thing. Cool. Awesome. You do you. Get down how you get down, baby. And be good. Be good. Be good this time of year. Reminder, like, if you win your championship, spread that love. That means spread the money. I know lots of restaurants are really hurting. Restaurant workers are hurting. Like, there's a lot of people that are hurting, and a damn $600 check isn't going to do much for anybody out there. So please, if you can, help out in your community, help out your neighbors, your fellow man. We have a family friend that we're getting her Christmas gifts, single mother. And it's like, if you can do that, just the smallest things, that helps out tremendously. I remember one year, Bloom, years and years ago, our Big Al offered that for me, as I'm trying to come up in the radio business, and, obviously not making that much money. It's radio, but it's like, and I remember how blown away I was at that. Like, so anytime that you can help out a friend, help out a neighbor, help out in your community, it really helps. I always think of, and I understand some people be like, there's always controversy around everything, right, Bloom? So whether it's ARC or Goodwill or Salvation Army, I remember we were just picking up some stuff at the store, and I walked by the bell ringer guy, and I always get excited when I see the bell ringer guy. And so I throw out some cash, and Stacy asked me, she's like, what, we always get so excited. I said, that's because that's where we shopped when I grew up, like in my formative years. Like I was shopping at Salvation Army. I was shopping at secondhand stores. It's why I get mad when my cousin, who's like filthy rich, shops at secondhand stores. Like, I got a deal. I'm like, oh my God, you don't need that deal. Poor people need that deal. Poor people need that pair of jeans that you found or whatever. So I'm ranting now, Bloom.
No, it's good.
But it's important, and that's why, like, I understand some people, again, the controversy about everything, but it's like, for me, when I see that bell ringer for Salvation Army, it makes me feel good because I was on the other side of that, and I was the person who needed that, $5 pair of jeans or whatever it was, $1 pair of jeans. Like that's what makes me feel good.
Yeah, well, in remembering where you came from, right? For Western Pennsylvania people know what I'm talking about. For us, it was Gabriel's. Gabriel's was like all the irregular stuff with stains or holes, and you look through a whole rack of like OP T-shirts that were $1.99 to find the one.
Oh,
that
everyone
didn't have
wanted
any...
OP T-shirts, dude.
Yeah, and you found that one that didn't have any stains or holes, and it wasn't like messed up.
The logo was only a little bit crooked.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is the one I got at $1.99. Yes, and you get find a good pair of jams for like $3.99. Big Dogs. I think I had a lot of Big Dogs jams. And you remember where you came from. And I think that, like you talk about, doing those acts of goodwill, however small they seem to us, they multiply. Right? That's one of the things they don't include in Pay It Forward, is the math in Pay It Forward is it gets bigger like snowballs, these acts of goodwill. And you never know, come back to you, but that's not why you do it. Nature abhors a vacuum. So if you give, it'll fill you back up with something usually good. Maybe honey baked ham.
Yeah, that's true. All right. That is a wrap for the Week 16 Waiver Wire show. Everyone, go forth. Be awesome. He's Sigmund. He's Dr. Gene. I'm Cecil. We're the Audible. Stay tuned and stay frosty.